So I just thought of, I mentioned how I went to college and I had to give a presentation. I was thinking, I guess if there's anybody listening who is worried about, who's like me and is worried about going to college and you have to give a bunch of presentations and stuff, if you do what I did, you don't have to worry about that. Which is, number one, go to a big school. So the first 2 years you're there is basically lectures. So you just go and there's like 100 kids in the class. You sit in the back and you take notes. And I like those classes a lot. Then I went to a business school and the classes started to get smaller. But the great thing about college is, and going to a big school, is like there's a ton of classes. So if you go to a class and in the syllabus it says like you have to give a presentation, you can just go to a different class. Or you can wait till next semester to take that class and hope you get a different teacher who doesn't. That's what I did a bunch of times. Like I went to a class with like 20 kids and the teacher was like, we're going to have debates every week. Like 2 kids are going to come up and we'll have a topic they can debate. And I'm like, there's no way I'll ever be able to do this. So I put that class off because it was a requirement to take that class. So I put it off till next semester and I got a different teacher and he was like, the class was a little bigger and I only had to talk a couple times.
I thought the two of you were inseparable.
She's busy.
Yeah, sure. Busy. Sounds like
And
might be trouble in paradise.
so if you do that, you don't really have to ever give presentations or talk in class. There was one accounting class I took where the teacher would do, it was like 30 kids in the class, and the teacher would do cold calls. So once every class, I'd have to, it was kind of stressful because I'd had to, he would ask a bunch of questions, and I'd have to think, okay, is this a question I can answer? If I answer this question, then I won't have to talk for the rest of the class, because whoa. Should I blow him up? Yeah, if you do that, you don't really have to worry too much about talking.
All right. Check the barricades again.
I know some people would think like if you had just gotten more practice talking, it would have gotten better. But I really don't feel that way. Giving presentations and stuff, I just feel like I'm always going to be nervous. I've done it so many times, and I never feel better. So I just felt like why put that stress on myself. But that one class I did have to, for some reason I couldn't get out of it. Yeah, that was a tough class, but
All people should understand that.
What does that mean?
I feel like the teachers, if you're quiet, they won't pick on you too much. They might cold call you, but they won't make you feel bad, like if you don't say the right thing, or most teachers. I can remember a couple times where the teacher would get kind of annoyed when I
We're here. In the cellar.
wouldn't know how to answer a question or something. But like, if you're like me and you don't talk and you don't have friends, I guess the teachers like pick up on that and they don't want to pick on you. Like if you're talking during the class or like before class you're talking to people and you talk normally and then during the class the teacher calls on you and you don't
touch
say anything, they might get mad or whatever.
Can you close the door?
Cutscene.
Gear up.
What? I need a gun.
No, you don't.
Joel, I can handle myself.
No. Stay here.
I don't think
Fine.
this is
Just wait around for you two to get me killed.
one of the more interesting arcs.
Is the worst fucking job you've ever taken.
It's
Which is like Ellie wants a
How the
gun
hell is Tess okay with this suicide mission?
and Joel won't give it to her.
her idea.
Really?
And then eventually he
Well,
does.
it's not as smart as I thought she was. But, fucker. Seriously, you gotta take that kid back to where you found her.
I can't just take her back.
Then send her packing, let her find her own way. But let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. Partner. Somebody I had to look after. And in this world, that sort of shit's good for one thing. Getting you killed. So you know what I did? Wising the fuck up. I realized it's gotta be just me.
Bill, it ain't like that. It's
Bullshit. It is just like that. Hey! What'd I say to you when we walked down the steps? What'd I say?
Just fixing your stupid pile.
Don't touch. God damn it. You keep babysitting long enough and eventually it's gonna blow up in your
Bill.
face.
Can you please just get on with it?
Here. Let's get on with it.
So I think Bill is supposed to be gay and there's like a note around here that says that, and I think I missed that the first couple times I played. I think I mentioned that I don't usually like read the notes if it doesn't relate to the main character but yeah, sometimes you miss stuff like that. And I like how they just don't make a big deal about it. It's just like, I feel like sometimes when people add gay characters, they kind of like, it just feels like they're patting themselves on the back. Like, look at how tolerant I am, and look at how cool I am that I have a gay character. But this is just like, he's gay and they don't make a big deal about it, which is cool.
This is a nail bomb. You gotta be really careful. This thing blows, it shreds anybody standing nearby.
So we got shotguns and bombs. The hell are we doing with them?
Well, every 3 weeks this military caravan rides through town. I assume they're
Bunch of stuff around here.
You'd be amazed at the shit
Is that the note?
overlooked. Anyway, a few months back, they were rolling through and they get overrun by this horde of infected. They were all over the truck. Plows right in the side of the high school. Still sitting there with a battery.
So we
Let's
take
do
that
one of
battery
these
and
again.
put it in another car.
Bingo. I wanted to get it, but it seemed too dangerous with all the infected on that part of town. Fuck it. Joel needs a car.
The work is damaged.
Okay, not talking. I'm not talking. I'm not talking. I'm full. I'm full of everything. Oh, let's use this.
Let's see what we got.
I talked about a note last week about Ellie's character design. I think it's interesting how in a video game you can make the character look however you want. So like everything about Ellie's design, like her face and all her features, and like Joel too, is specifically designed that way for a reason. And I like Ellie's design in the teaser for the second one. I feel like they made her more plain looking, and I like that. I guess they could, if they wanted to, they could make her look like a supermodel or something. So it's just interesting the way they decided to make her look, because they can make her look however they want. I guess in this one, the way she's designed is to make her look kind of innocent and childlike, and then that can juxtapose with her personalities, like but you still want to,
I don't need any of your shit. Trust me.
the main goal of the game is to get you to care about Ellie and to want to protect her. So that's designed into the way she looks and acts. I had more notes about 8th grade. I think I talked about everything I wanted to with the going to the bathroom thing. Yeah, there was a bathroom kind of in the basement of the church that nobody went into, so like for half an hour while everybody was eating dinner, I would go in there because I was too nervous to sit around and to find a place to sit and stuff. That's the only time it ever happened to me. But during lunch at school, I always was able to find a place to sit. Yeah. And that was hard because my parents would ask me, like, what'd you eat for dinner? And so I'd have to try and figure out, like, what we ate. And I was worried they would find out, like, sometimes I would lie and I would just say, like, pasta or something. And I was worried they would figure out that I was lying.
Ready?
Guess we'll find out.
And then when I got a car, I was able to just drive around in the car. I didn't have to go inside.
Hey, come on, you don't need to be looking at that.
It's the worst.
There was a scene.
Get a move on.
Do I have time? 6 minutes, I think.
Past this gate, it's all new territory.
Where the girl is in the car with the guy, and it kind of gets uncomfortable for her and weird. And I had seen that kind of scene a lot in movies, but I really related, or I didn't relate to this, but like I understood why it's so scary for a girl to be in that situation, because I really related to her character through all this anxiety and stuff. And so once they framed it like that, I was able to understand why it's so scary for a girl to be in a car with a guy. Like if I was a girl, why that would be so scary for me, because I've never experienced anything like that. I guess the main thing is that it helped me realize is like that guy didn't care about her, and that's the thing that always gets lost on me, or it used to, is like you think if a guy is doing that, like they care about you, like they like you, and they but that girl, she thought, and she's right, that guy didn't care about her. He was just wanting to satisfy himself, and he didn't care about who she was or how she felt. And I never thought about it that way because I never related to the girl character that much. The only thing I could think of that's similar for me is like whenever I have to deal with a salesman. I think it's a pretty good analogy. It's like the salesman doesn't care about you. He just wants to sell something, and he wants to make money. So all he wants out of you is for you to say yes and get your money. So that's similar, I guess. I feel like it's similar. Except the consequences of you saying no aren't terrifying. But that's a way for a guy to relate to it, I guess. Yeah, I always hate at my job. Sometimes I have to talk to salesmen, and it's really hard because most of the time you just want to say no, and like shit, and it's just hard for me to say no because I want to make people happy, and I want to make that salesman happy. And I know, like, if I just say yes, I'll buy your thing, it would make them really happy. But most of the time, like, the company doesn't need what they're selling, or I can't say yes for some reason, and it stresses me out a lot. So I think it's similar to how a girl would feel if a guy was like trying to sell themselves, like, come on, just do this thing with me, it'll make me happy. And so you feel bad when you say no. Ouch. So that really helped me. I guess I keep saying that, but I'd never thought of it that way. I guess sometimes I would have felt like I was on the guy's side. Like, come on, just say yes to this guy and he'll be happy and you'll be happy. And what's the big deal? But obviously, now I understand why.
I fucking hate those things.
I guess that's it. there are a lot of shots in the movie where they do this thing where like she's in an auditorium and the teacher's talking and it just kind of, the camera just kind of sits on her face and it doesn't move, which I really liked, but I was trying to figure out why and I couldn't. I'm not sure. I feel like in a scene like that in another movie, what would usually happen would be like the teacher would be talking and then the camera would go to the main character and she would talk to the person next to her about like something, like the next scene or whatever. But in this movie that doesn't happen, which is really cool. She just sits there and listens, because that's what you do. What else are you going to do when you don't have friends and you don't talk to people? I guess that's why. I just like how the camera sits on her face and it doesn't move. The door opened. Whoops. I think that might be it for the movie. I don't know if there's anything else I can talk about. I've kind of lost track of how many episodes I've done. I think this is a good place to stop. This is 1 hour and 47 minutes. Yeah, okay.